Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. For today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Coast to Coral collection from ColourPop Cosmetics. They did send me this entire collection over my way in PR, but this video isn't sponsored. I of course just end up reviewing all of ColourPop's collections. Sometimes they send me some collections, so that always helps me out, but this video isn't sponsored by them. They're not expecting me to make a video. This collection came out a while ago. I'm reviewing it now, so I'm falling behind a little bit, but that's fine. You guys apparently don't mind that as well, so thank you so much. I pretty much have the entire collection and I'm just going to give you guys my thoughts on everything. I have swatches, comparisons, and also I created 3 looks using the palette. So if you guys are interested in hearing my thoughts and seeing all of that, then please continue watching. Alright, so we're just gonna go ahead and dive into the Coast to Coral eyeshadow palette. So this is their 9-pan eyeshadow palette. It's $14 US and it comes in their cardboard packaging. You'll receive 4 mattes, 2 satins, and 3 metallics, which I think is a really great range. And when I first saw this palette, I was like, okay, this looks a lot like Baby Got Peach. I unboxed this on my Instagram story and I was like, I'm gonna compare it to the Baby Got Peach palette. Don't worry guys, but I'm like, why did I think it looked like the Baby Got Peach palette? Because it's really different. If anything, it's really similar to the Sweet Talk palette. And I'm just gonna dive right into my palette comparison. So the Sweet Talk palette to me is one of my favorite palettes actually, but I can see how some people might not like the Sweet Talk because it does contain 2 pressed glitters. And I know a lot of you guys don't buy palettes if they do have pressed glitters, which I completely understand. For me personally, I don't mind pressed glitters. I don't use them very often. I would prefer if it doesn't, but if it does, I'm not like, okay, I'm not gonna buy this at all. You know what I mean? I'm just like sort of in the middle. I know, you know, their glitters aren't really great for the environment. I don't think it's even eye safe. So, you know, there's some risk and stuff like that. So while I was playing with this palette and I was finding my shade by shade comparisons, which you will see a little bit later on, I just think it's necessary for me to compare this palette to the Sweet Talk palette to review it for you guys. If you wanted the Sweet Talk palette, but because of the glitters, you didn't purchase it, then this palette is for you. If you have more of a medium to deeper skin tone, I think this palette is for you, because the Sweet Talk palette, although it does have like medium to darker shadows, it also does have a couple of lighter shadows. And for the majority of this palette, like 8 out of 9 shadows, they are more of that medium to dark tone, a light to medium complexion, and I much prefer this one. I mean, I still love the Sweet Talk. It's always going to be like a favorite, but for my personal preference, I do lean towards more medium tones. And of course, these shadows are amazing. I mean, I know a lot of people have been saying that ColourPop's formulation has been going down a little bit. For me personally, I don't really see that. I think, of course, some shadows are gonna work better than others because they are formulated different. I don't know how formulation works, but I would assume, like, I don't know, a darker shadow is gonna need more pigmentation or whatnot, but like, I think overall they always perform well. I never have a problem with patchiness, and if I do, I will tell you guys that. And for this palette, like, everything works so well. It layered really well on top of each other. I know when you look at this palette, you're just like, meh. And I was like that too. I'm like, am I really gonna love this palette? Like, I wasn't really excited for it, but after using it, I'm just like, okay, I really like this palette. And I don't want to do these reviews and tell you guys like you need this palette. I'm always doing these reviews for you guys. You know, I'm trying these products out so you don't have to. I do the comparison so you guys can see what you already have in your collection, so you don't need to buy this palette. You know what I mean? I hope I come off that way and not like, you need this palette. Like, sometimes I will come off that way. Like, sometimes I'm like really hyping a product up, but when it comes to my ColourPop reviews, it's really just a useful resource for you to see what you already have in your collection. If you already have Sweet Talk, then I don't think you would really need this one. And honestly, out of all of the peachy slash corally sort of palettes, so like Sweet Talk, Baby Got Peach, and Miss Bliss, this one is my favorite. I like the tones the most in this one. I think if anything, these 2 metallics here are really similar. I wish they would have swapped that out for something else. There's a slight difference, but once it's on the eyes, it's really similar. So I wish these would have been a little bit different. Everything else in the palette is very useful. I will get my use out of. It's a palette that I'm like, okay, I can use every single shade in here and be happy with that. Okay, and with that being said, we can now move into the shade by shade swatches and comparisons. So the first shade in the palette is called Atoll, and this is a really pretty shady metallic. I would say it's almost like a duochrome. It has a really strong golden undertone, but the flip is sort of like a peachy pink. I'm wearing this in my inner corners today, and I think it's a really beautiful shadow, and it really does complement the entire palette. And the next shadow is called Crush, but this is a matte formulation. It's sort of like a light salmony peachy pink. This shade I probably would use the least of, but in a look one, which you'll see a little bit later on, I really like the technique that I did with this shadow, so I find myself using these lighter shades a little bit more often recently. Next up, I have the shade The Keys, and this one has a really strong coral undertone with a lot of golden flip. So earlier when I showed you the first shade Atoll, more golden flip, so these two would pair really well together and just really highlight each other. Then we have the shade Anemone. I don't know if I'm saying that right, I'm really sorry, but this shade I think is really unique. When I was trying to find my comparisons, I actually couldn't find something so exact and bright and coral. Sometimes with darker or brighter shadows it can be a little bit patchy, but this one works really well. It feels very buttery to the touch. Then we have Diver. So I think Diver and the previous shade I showed you, Diver is just a little bit deeper, but they have that same golden flip. So I think once it's on the eyes, you're not gonna really tell too much of a difference. So I don't think it was really necessary to have both of these. Then we have Keep Swimming. This is a satin shadow, and essentially what a satin shadow is to ColourPop, it's a matte base, but it has these little specks of glitters in it. And these little glitters are very micro. And typically with this formulation, once you start packing on the shadow on your eyes, all of those glitters just fly away, they disappear, and I always think that's pretty, I don't know, pointless. You might as well just keep it to a matte. But with this specific shadow, Keep Swimming, even though you pack this onto your eyes, you can still see those little glitters, which is really pretty, and you actually don't get any fallout with that either. So for some reason, this satin shadow works really well. It actually looks like a satin shadow. It looks like how you swatch it. You will see those glitters on your eyes, which is really amazing. Next we have Queensland. So Queensland is actually more of like a burnt terracotta orange, which is surprising in a coral palette, right? But it worked so well. When I used the shade, it turned my eye look more into like a rustic fall eye look. And when you look at this palette, you wouldn't think you can create such a fall looking eye look, right? But to me, I was feeling extremely fall. Although there are a lot of comparisons for this, but I do think it complements the palette as a whole really well. Next we have Angelfish. I love this shadow as well. I feel like it's almost a toned down version of Queensland, and it just has more peachiness to it, but it has that muted vibe, and I think that's really, really flattering. And again, of course, it complements the entire palette really well. And lastly, we have the shade Drop Off. This is the other satin shadow. When swatched, it looks more of like a medium chocolate brown, but I think once in the eyes it really does a great job of deepening, so it's a little bit darker, I feel. But this one as well, the satin shadow, you can still see those glitters on your eyes. So I think the satin shadows in this palette performs really well. And next in the collection, there are two duos of the Creme Gel Liner and Creme Gel Pot. They only sent me one, and I got the shade Bay Breeze. The other one is called Gobi, and it's more of like a red coral. Bay Breeze, this is what it looks like. It's more of like a true orangey peachy coral. And sadly, my Creme Gel Pot, it did dry out. The lid wasn't secured on properly, so by the time it got to me, it did dry out. Like even if I was trying to swatch it, it's very dry. Like how can I show you? It's like, it's not creamy at all, so it's just not usable because yeah, it dried out. So I could only try out the Creme Gel Liner. I said this many times before, but I'll just say it again because of course there's always going to be new people watching my videos. So for me, in the Creme Gel Liner family, it's pretty inconsistent. Some are good, some are bad, and some are really, really great, like amazing, wow, fantastic, affordable eyeliners. But a lot of them to me fall just in the good category, and this Bay Breeze shade would fall into the good category. You can see it on your eyes, and it's really easy, smooth to apply, but I do think it does skip over a little bit if you wanted to build up the color, but it does stay in there. Like I'm wearing it today on my eyes and you can still see it. It's not like Venus or Sunnyvale. Those two to me are the like top tier creme gel liners, very creamy, pigmented, doesn't skip. This one does skip a little, but you still can see in your eyes, it still shows up. And I think this specific shade is really unique to the creme gel liner family because I have a lot of the creme gel liners. Like I think I have almost every single shade, like almost, and they don't have a peachy creme gel liner, so I do think it's a great addition. But is it a shade that I see myself using a lot? Probably not. I don't really ever think to myself like, oh, I really need a peach eyeliner right now, you know, but it's a good addition and I'm sure I'm gonna get my use out of it. It does work, but I don't think it's like a must-have, you know? Next up, we have two ultra glossy lips, and these are $7 US each. The first shade is called Molokini, and this is the lighter one. They are quite sheer once you apply them onto your lips, so I personally would wear a lip color underneath or a lip liner. I actually used to wear these glosses with nothing on my lips, but I think back to them, I'm like, what was I thinking? I should definitely wear something underneath these glosses. Ultra glossy lips are seriously so juicy. Like, look how juicy my lips look right now. I love it. Molokini, for my preference, I feel like it's a little bit too light. I do prefer the other shade, Cosumil. It's a bit darker, and I just feel like you can just see that on my lips because they are quite sheer. Like you can see the tone of orange much clearer. But to me, like when it comes to ultra glossy lips and when they are more of like a sheer gloss, they all sort of look the same once it's on the lips, you know what I mean? But when I was going through my collection and I was swatching everything side by side, these are actually quite unique to my collection. I don't actually own a lot of like orangey glosses, so I'm happy that I have them, and I really do like Cosumil. I don't know, it's just a really weird time to launch glosses because I think for a lot of us, glosses is probably the last thing we want to wear, right? Everyone's wearing masks, and even if you are going to wear a lip product, a gloss is probably not going to be your go-to choice. So it was a little weird that they added in a gloss during this launch, but I mean, they might have planned this launch a while ago and they couldn't change anything. I don't know. I personally would have preferred if they came out with some new shades in the Just a Tint line. In their collection, I feel like they could have released like a brighter coral or something, or an extension to Rise and Shine, because Rise and Shine is the best shade ever, and I paired this with all of my looks, and maybe if they could have done a deeper coral, a lighter coral, something like that, that would have been nice. Alright, next up in the collection, we have the Press blush. So this is $8 US, and the shade name is called Shook to the Coral. I recently just uploaded my blush collection, and I know I have a lot of blushes, but this one is actually quite unique to my collection. I don't have sort of like a peachy blush this dark. I mean, it's not that dark, but it's a lot darker than the peachy blushes I have. A lot of the peachy blushes I have are a bit lighter, and this one is also a satin. When I first used this, I didn't really like it, but I saw a TikTok makeup hack on how to apply your blush. I think I was going a little bit overboard with my blush. I was applying it too close here, which I still like the look, but I think when it comes to satin blushes, it's better to put it more further back, and once I did, I really like it. I like it against my skin tone. I think it's a really pretty summer blush. This actually might be my go-to summer blush. I'm gonna add this one into my top drawer for sure. I really like how it looks. For me, the blush I really enjoyed. It's something that I don't really have in my collection, so for me that was great. However, we have the Super Shock highlighter. Okay, this is $10 US. This is not the first time they came out with this packaging, like a big Super Shock highlighter, and I don't want to say hate because it's a really strong word, but I really dislike this packaging. Someone tell me, why does a highlighter need to be this big? You guys, this is bigger than the eyeshadow palette. Like, you're telling me a highlighter is bigger than the eyeshadow palette. Like, is this necessary? You could honestly give me a pan of highlighter like this and I would be happy with that. You know, like, this is just not necessary, okay? It makes me not even want to really use the highlighter. If this was a bronzer, I could understand, like, you know, Marc Jacobs has that Omega bronzer. It sort of looks like this packaging as well. Blush, you know, I'll still question it, but I could sort of understand. But highlighter is the last thing I would want in a massive pan. Like, we don't, this is just not necessary. If they could just keep it in the normal packaging, like, I'm happy with that. Some things don't need a change, okay? But of course, formulation wise, like, the Super Shock shadows are really nice. It does have that marble sort of print on it, and it has like sort of these peachy stripes in it, but once it's on the cheeks, it does give more of a pink flip. So it has sort of like a silver underbase with a lot of pink flip to it. It's a little bit on the glittery side, so for me, I do prefer a highlighter that's a little bit more like metallic glowy, like a glow from from within, not something so glittery. I mean, there's a time and place for a glittery highlight, but yeah, I think maybe it's just the packaging. I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Alright, so those were all of the makeup items. They did come out with some Fourth Ray and Soul Body products, so I didn't get to try out the Fourth Ray strawberry and papaya face milk. I seriously just have too much skincare to be trying out anything new, so I'm going to be passing this one on, but this is $14 US. And then for the Soul Body product, it's their shimmering dry oil in the shade Paloma, and I did swatch this, and I do have a lot of these Soul Body dry oils, and I do like them. I wouldn't wear them every day. If I was like going to the beach, you know, where I'm already going to get a little bit dirty because of the sand and stuff, like I would apply that, but like it is pretty sticky, and I don't like being sticky and then wearing clothes on top of that. It makes me feel really icky, and usually they feel a little bit more drier, but for some reason this one feels very liquidy and oily, like it won't settle down, if that makes sense. Like, it's very, very runny. And my other like dry oils, they aren't as liquidy as this. Maybe I just need to shake it well more. But honestly, when it comes to these dry oils, you guys, like, I don't know why they keep releasing more shades, because once it's on the skin, like, it really looks the same. Like, it looks exactly the same. This like orange tint you see, like, you won't really see that on your skin. Like, all of the other dry oils look like this, you know what I mean? So that, you guys, was pretty much the entire Coast to Coral collection from ColourPop. My absolute favorites in the collection, if you couldn't pick up from the review, is the eyeshadow palette and the blush. But again, you guys really don't have to get anything from this collection. I hope my comparisons help you out if you already have some of these things in your collection. But yeah, with that being said, that is all of the talking portion done. We can now move into the 3 looks, and hopefully that can give you guys some inspiration for this palette or for any peachy corally looks that you want to do. To get started with the first look, I'm going to start off with the shade Keep Swimming, and I'm going to first work this in at the outer third of my eyes using circular motions. I'm just going to pack on the most pigmentation at the outer third, and then I'll slowly bring that product in towards the inner third of my eyes, but I do want most of the color to shine through at the outer corners. I do take the same shadow onto my lower lash line and doing the same thing, just focusing most of the product at the outer third, and then once you have little to no product left on your brush, I'm going to bring that in towards the inner part of my eyes. I'm then going to move into the shade Angelfish, and I'm going to use this shadow to slowly deepen out the outer third. It's not too much darker from the first shadow we placed, but when you want to deepen out your outer corners, I feel like working in baby steps works the best. You get a really soft, diffuse, seamless blend. So I'm just going to use the shadow to really deepen out the outer corners, just using circular motions to get the perfect blend. Next, I'm going to go into the shade Drop Off and doing exactly the same thing, just working this at the outer third of our eyes, really packing on the color there. And with this shadow, I am not dipping back into the pan. This is just a couple of dips right onto my eyes, and I'm just going to work with the product that's already on my eyes. The shadow is super pigmented, so you can see how well it distributes and how well it blends out on the eyes. So I'm just going to really focus this at the outer third. I do go in with a defining brush to take that onto my lower lash line, and again, just focusing that at the outer third. Next, I'm going into the shade Crush. I'm actually taking this on a concealer brush, but you know, use whatever brush you have. Just make sure it's sort of dense so you can really pack on the shadow at the inner third. I'm gonna start creating sort of a soft cut crease. Just like how you usually would do a cut crease, I'm just doing it with an eyeshadow rather than concealer. If you've never done a cut crease before, I think this is a really great way to dive into this technique. It's less intimidating, and if you mess up, you can't really see your mess ups, you know what I mean, because you are using a shadow. So I'm just going to pack that on at the inner third of my eyes. I'm going to take the rounded tip to really define that soft cut crease. Then I'm gonna take the shade The Keys, and I heavily wetted my brush to use this shadow because I'm gonna be playing with the shadow more like a metallic liner. I'm gonna drag this along the soft cut crease line just to sort of define it, but because we are using a shadow to do this, I feel like it's still quite subtle, and because the eyes are mostly matte, this will add a little bit of glitter and shimmer. You definitely could skip on this, but I think it just adds a little bit of something to this eye look. But now I'm going to take my BFF liquid liner in the shade Grande. I'm going to use this to line my eyes and also create a wing. I do go in with a dark brown eyeshadow to smudge and extend that wing liner out. I also take the CREME gel liner from ColourPop in the shade Sunny Veil, and I'm going to use this to tightline my upper waterline all around, but on my lower lash line I'm only going to use it to tightline the outer corners. And finally, to complete the look for my lashes today, I am wearing the Petite Cosmetics 3D Luxe Lashes in the style Hana. And this, you guys, is the first look completed. I have been loving this sort of soft cut crease technique, and just doing that little metallic liner to define the cut crease just adds a little bit of personality to the eye look, and I really like how it turned out. I did get the metallic liners a little bit uneven. My eyes are a little bit uneven today, and also I haven't done a cut crease in a while, so just excuse that if it does look a little bit wonky, but I still like how it turned out. So hopefully you guys like this first look. For my lip pairing, I am wearing one of the glosses from the collection. I'm wearing the shade Cosumel. I'm wearing that on top of the Just a Tint lip crown in the shade Rise and Shine. And now onto the second look. I'm gonna start off with Keep Swimming once again. This is going to be our transition shadow. I like to place the shadow onto my lid, and then I'll slowly use circular motions to blend that up into my crease area, so that way I'm getting like a good natural blend. I also take this same shadow onto my lower lash line as well. I'm just gonna sweep that right from the outer corner to the inner corner. Next, I'm going into the shade Queensland, and I'm gonna start packing this on at the outer third of my eyes, just using circular motions to get a little bit of depth there first, and then I'll also take it on a pencil brush and I'll use circular motions to get the product at the inner third of my eyes. So essentially you just want to keep the middle of your lid space blank. The only shadow that you're really gonna see at the middle is that transition shadow that we placed earlier. Using Queensland is going to deepen out the outer and inner edges, and it's also going to give more of like an orangey rustic vibe to the eye look. Next, I'm going to take the shade Drop Off, and I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing, just using circular motions, packing this on at the outer and inner third of my eyes. This is going to really complete the look and really define the outer edges, and I think it blends really well into Queensland because they are a really rich, warm sort of tone. I do take Drop Off onto my lower lash line. I'm going to be using a defining brush to really stamp on the product, and I'm taking it all the way to really create a smoky, grungy look. Then I'm going to take the shade Atoll, and I'm going to place this right at the center of my eyes. You want to see how I am placing it on with my brush. You can see I'm holding my brush pretty much vertical, so that way I can get the most product right at the center. And then I'll slowly start blending the outer edges and blending that into the matte shadows. I also take this same shadow into my inner corners to highlight that area. And I feel like using the same shadow to highlight my inner corners really brings the look together. Then I'm going to go in with my BFF liquid liner in the shade Grande once again. Exactly like the first look, I'm just going to line my eyes, create a wing, and then I'll take a dark brown eyeshadow to smudge and smoke that wing out. And also I'm using the same eyeliner as the first look, Sunnyvale, the creme gel liner, to tightline my upper waterline. And I'm going to use this to tightline my entire bottom waterline as well to again give me that smoky, grungy look. For lashes today, I am wearing the Petite Cosmetics 3D Luxe Lashes in the style Birdie. And this, you guys, is the second look completed. I hope you guys like it. I really love the turnout of it. I didn't expect this look to come out so like rustic and orangey, but I'm here for it. This is really giving me fall vibes. I don't know if it's because my hair is darker now, but I'm really loving this look. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this second look. And now for the final look, I'm gonna start off with the shade Keep Swimming. And again, I'm gonna be using this shadow as my transition shadow. So I'm just going to first work that onto my lid, and then I'll slowly start blending that up towards my crease and towards my brow bone. I just feel like this is going to give me the nice gradual blend. And because we are creating sort of like a bright smoky eye today, I do want most of the product on my lid space anyway. I do take this shadow onto my lower lash line as well. I'm just gonna sweep that from the outer corner right to the inner corner. Then I'm going to take the shade Anemone and I'm going to start packing this onto my lid space. I'm going to pack most of the pigmentation there, and then once I feel like a lot of the shadow has left my brush, I will slowly start blending that into my crease. But I'm not going to blend it up too high. I'm not going to pass my transition shadow. I'm going to keep it sort of where my crease sort of starts, so that way you do get a good blend. The shadow is more of a brighter coral, so it's going to give us more like brightness, you know what I mean? More vividness to the eyes. And I will take this shadow onto my lower lash line as well. I'm just going to use a defining brush to wash that all over. Then taking Diver, I'm going to be using this shadow wet because I'm just going to be packing this on all over my lid, and I sort of just want to give a sheen to the eyes. I don't want anything to be too foiled, so that's why I'm using it wet. And it just really complements all the other shadows we placed down. To complete the look, I'm taking the shade Atoll and I'm going to use that to highlight my inner corners. I feel like this again does tie in the entire look because the shade Diver does have gold reflex in it, so everything just looks very monochromatic. Of course, it's a monochromatic palette, so everything will look really nice together. And again, just like the previous two looks, I take my brown liquid liner to create my wing, and then I'll go in with a dark brown eyeshadow to smoke that out. But for this look, I am using the creme gel liner that came in this collection. So this one is called Bay Breeze, and I'm just going to use this to tightline my entire bottom waterline. And for my lashes today, I am wearing Honey from Petite Cosmetics. Alright you guys, so this is the final look completed. I wanted to create something that was more of a statement that really represented this palette, and you can't go wrong with the bright sort of smoky eye, so that's what we did today. My lip pairing is actually the same as the other three looks. I'm just obsessed with this combo, so I couldn't stop wearing it. But yeah you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this final look. And that, you guys, was my 3 looks. What did you guys think? Which look was your favorite? Let me know down below. I love hearing your feedback. It also really does help me out as well. So when I see, oh, look 2 was more popular, maybe I'll do more of these looks for you guys in my future 3 looks 1 palettes or in makeup tutorials and stuff like that. So it really does help me out with your feedback, and I also just love hearing your opinion as well. Also let me know what you guys feel about this collection. I know things can be very overwhelming when it comes to ColourPop, especially right now, but I hope my videos are helpful to you. I'm trying it so you don't have to. So yeah, I mean, if you guys did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up for me. It would really help me out so much, and I would appreciate it so much if you did. And I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!